Hello, lovelies. Oh, I have so many thoughts about today's page. It's kind of hard deciding where to start. First, I don't think it shows up very well on camera, which is fine, but I love the pencil work I did on this page. It was just so much fun. I kept moving things around and tweaking, and if you can hear that, that's my 6-year-old watching Pokemon in the other room. But yeah, I was moving things around and tweaking, and it didn't feel like I was being nitpicky. It felt like I was playing. Like really playing, not just fiddling. And that's really the best feeling when you come to your art or even your kitchen. When it finally came time to do the inking, I was so satisfied. And the lettering is almost just chef's kiss perfect. Tools is practically pristine. I wish I had been a little bit bolder with my movements, used my elbow and shoulder a little bit more than relying on my wrist and fingers, and been a little bit lighter with the pressure. And I think that just comes from I want it to be, if it had been bigger and shrank down, I think I would have had an easier time with that because I was using the thinnest yet most flexible brush tip I had. And I don't have any dip ink at the moment, so I couldn't get my actual brush out. But what we were talking about yesterday, or as I was talking at you yesterday, a lot of that was the self-consciousness of the movement and being aware and afraid of obscuring the page too much. Hopefully by the end of the month, it's going to be just choice. I'm going to have it down, pat, be practiced, and be doing it all the time. Especially since my film setup is actually surprisingly easy. And maybe once I get my office back to myself, I'll have a way to do it that's not quite as uncomfortable as this one is. We won't get into that right now. So my favorite tools in this collection are definitely the food mill, the scissors, and the collection of the pastry cutter, rolling pin, and pie mat in the bottom corner, and the twine. And the twine just looks so cute. But the food mill is my favorite. It was a last minute addition, really. I had been working on this before, and in the middle of doing my sketches and brainstorming, I helped my mom clean out her shed a little bit, trying to scale down a lot of her belongings. And one of the things that came into my possession after this was my grandmother's food mill. I have been obsessed with this thing since I was a kid. If you're curious as to what that is, it is the little saucepan looking thing with the crank at the top next to tools. And at first glance, in real life, that's what it looks like. Just a saucepan with a crank and a little knob at the bottom. It is not for heating stuff in, but mine at least, because it's metal and antique, which is partly why I love it so much. I love using antiques in my kitchen. I have so many of these tools that I have are actual antiques that I have acquired secondhand and loved on and restored, and it's one of the better things in life from my perspective, is finding something used and old and good and making it work for you the way it was intended to. And what a food mill is, sorry about that. Brief interruption by the mini Spence. So what the food mill, brain blanked, what the food mill is for is basically it's a pre-electricity kind of blender. It's not as thorough as a blender. Like you could probably not get something to liquefy in here, but that's why there's the immersion blender on the page too. But this is perfect if you're making sauces from scratch, like tomato sauce or applesauce. It does a really good job of pushing like the gooey deliciousness into your bowl or pan or whatever you're using. And if you're doing tomatoes, it leaves the skin behind. Maybe for another video I'll get it out and show you how it works, because it's like a cheese grater at the bottom, and the crank turns a scraper that just pushes the food to the bottom through the holes, and it makes it very smooth, a very satisfying, very holistic temperature, or texture, not temperature. Ugh, what's the matter with me? But the most important thing, my favorite thing about a good food mill is it makes fantastic mashed potatoes. And if you know me, you know how much I value the potato and how seriously I take the mashed potatoes. I have planned, I don't know if I will actually do it or if I will decide this version of the zine isn't going to have zine. If this version of the zine isn't going to have any recipes, but I do have planned a illustrated guide to making the best mashed potatoes, and it involves using the food mill. I feel like you learned a lot about me right there with how much I love mashed potatoes. I am what I am. Well, that about wraps up everything for today. Thank you all for watching. I mean it. You are all beautiful and radiant, and nothing in the world is worth as much as you are. Take care, my loves. Goodbye.